New video just in a CNN shows residents of a small town deploying barricades and crude metal spikes on this road, main road, to stop an advancing convoy of Russian military vehicles. The Ukrainian army is outmanned and outgunned, but the willpower and courage of Ukrainian troops and civilians is exceeding expectations. Still, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby warned last hour that Russia still has significant combat power and capability. Joining us now is retired Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, former commanding general of U.S. Army Europe from 2014 to 2017. He's also the Pershing Chair of Strategic Studies at the Center for European Policy Analysis. General, thanks so much for being here. So, by all accounts, the Ukrainian fight has been more than Russia anticipated. Is the thinking that this means that Putin will now use more lethal force in more populated areas next?
Well, Allison, I think you're right. Clearly, the Kremlin and the general staff are going to become frustrated because they're doing so poorly. Frankly, they're behind on all their timelines, and they can sense that Ukrainian forces are growing stronger and gaining momentum. So much like they did when they fought in Chechnya, I think they're going to turn increasingly to brute force, which means civilians and towns and infrastructure will be targeted. I've been struck by what your reporters have been saying about the indicators of poor discipline and poor readiness. What we call readiness. The maintenance is a dead giveaway if you've got broken vehicles up and down the roads. That's a dead giveaway that these units are not disciplined and they haven't been doing what they're supposed to. I mean, to get ready for an invasion, and they've got maintenance problems. That tells you something about the culture and probably a lot of false reporting going on. I've also been struck by we've all seen videos and pictures of convoys that were struck by Ukrainian artillery or drones, and how close these vehicles are to each other along the road. That's another dead giveaway of a unit that is not properly trained and prepared entering combat, but yet they're following almost bumper to bumper. And so many commanders have been killed at the major, lieutenant colonel, and colonel level. This is because headquarters, or their radios are broadcasting in the clear. Ukrainians are finding them and killing them with artillery. All of this to say, the Russians have not trained at the level that you would expect for them to get ready to do an invasion, that they are not ready for this.
That's really interesting to hear. Meanwhile, I mean, it does sound as though Putin is upping the ante, at least rhetorically, because he has said that he is now putting his nuclear defense on alert. What does that mean?
Well, of course, I listened to Ambassador Herbst earlier, and I agree completely with him that for President Putin to threaten nukes, of course, cost him nothing. To use them, though, that will cost him everything. I think part of this is for the Russians trying to dissuade us from NATO from thinking about putting in a no-fly zone, for example, which would mean having NATO aircraft in the air over Ukraine, and that would be a whole different category. So I think part of the nuclear threats is designed to deter us from that. I'm also concerned this referendum in Belarus yesterday, 3 outcomes. Lukashenko gets lifetime immunity, neutrality comes out of the constitution of Belarus, and Belarus welcomes nuclear weapons. So now we're potentially going to have nuclear weapons in Belarus as well as in Russia.
One of the things that you were talking about in terms of what you've seen on the road from Russian troops, I just want to pull up the satellite images of this, we've been told, 3-mile-long convoy of Russian artillery weapons. This is basically a supply chain, we think. It's right outside of Kyiv. But it appears to me, I mean, obviously, you're the military, you're the general. Aren't they sitting ducks, just sitting there? Isn't that something that the Ukrainian army could hit as a target?
Yeah, and for sure they will, because Ukraine, remember, they've been at war for 8 years, and they learned a lot over the last 8 years, particularly how to use drones and to connect what they see with their own artillery and rockets. And so when you see in combat a column like that, it is parked bumper to bumper. This is a unit that does not have good sergeants. They don't have good discipline, and they haven't been training in realistic environments. This is very, very hard. And so what we're seeing is the result of I think, a culture of probably false reporting inside the Russian army.
So, General, from your expertise, what is going to happen next? Should the Ukrainians and the world community brace for this week?
Well, clearly, Russia is going to start resorting to more and more blunt force. I don't see them just backing out, but they're going to make up for their lack of high level of training. They're going to make up for it with more blunt force and with mass. So that's going to be one thing. So what does that mean for us? That means Ukrainians are going to continue to need anti-tank weapons, air defense weapons, and you can sort of feel the power of Western Europe and the United States really pushing these things in. We've got to keep doing that, but also Turkey deciding that it's going to close the straits, the Turkish straits, the Bosphorus and Dardanelles, to Russian Navy ships. This is a huge deal, first time ever, and this will send also a signal to Russia that they've got to deal with problems other than what's right in front of them in Ukraine.
President Erdogan's response has definitely been unexpected. Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, thank you.